Yeah, just a bit of rundown. Yeah, it's to make it feel more full. You know, it's not just a black void. As you're, you'll see once we kind of. This is the podium and microphone. So here's where we can read. I'll say a few words at the top, and of course introduce each poet as they read. I was thinking maybe we could start with Jessica, and then have our Mantira read, followed by Meghann, and then Teresa. Does that sound good? Sound plan? we're about to hear. I want to start by acknowledging our presence in unceded territory. We stand in solidarity with Indigenous, Tongva, Tataviam, Chumash peoples who've endured colonialism and displacement. We stand against genocide and are committed to provide a space for Indigenous artists and communities, and we recognize they are the original stewards of this land. Bambrick is a place dedicated to the possibilities of language, founded in 1968 by George Drury Smith. It began as an experimental literary magazine and evolved into the interdisciplinary art space it is today. This building first served as the original Venice City Hall, but since the late 70s, poets took it over, and it has been a space for art since then. You can learn more about LA's oldest literary arts organization that is now 57 years old. We continue to offer our free Monday night fiction workshop with Raquel Baker and our Wednesday night poetry workshop with our new facilitator, Martin Yago. Both workshops happen weekly virtually over Zoom, and participants are welcome to bring a piece to a workshop with a group over 1 or 2 sessions, but you're welcome to come in regularly to those sessions. Tomorrow we have a reading with Marcela Magdaleno, joining us from Baja California, Mexico. She'll be reading her parts of her memoir on Elena Paz Garro, who's the daughter of Octavio Paz and Elena Garro, both prolific Mexican writers. And the memoir details literary persecution, women writers of Mexico in the 20th century, and the memories of literary family. We are also having a reading with David St. John, Judith Pact, and Holiday Mason, and celebration of a new title by Judith Pact from What Books Press. That's happening Saturday afternoon. And right before that, we'll be having Magra Books, led by Paul Vangelisti. And they'll be presenting 3 new books, and they have been a press for the last 10 years, based here in Los Angeles. So it's kind of an anniversary reading. And next week, we're hosting Ladi Dada, with 20 poets experimenting with Dada ideology and expressing the wacky poetic spirit of performance art and more. And we're also hosting the closing reception of East of Western, showcasing portraits of Charles Bukowski, curated by photographer Joan Ganny, who took all the portraits you see in the gallery. We just have this one half in the other side of this wall, but upstairs we have our Mike Kelly gallery, and you can see the rest of the photographs that were taken in the 1970s. On December 20th, we'll be having the final closing exhibition and a reading. There's going to be maybe 15 poets reading a poetry of Bukowski, and in many ways interpret also how these poems have touched our lives or have been significant to them. Thanks to your support, we have been serving the community now for 57 years. We plan to be here a century longer, and up to the end of the world, we'll be reading poems. And in spite of the many challenges we're facing, we're standing strong. We just had 2 very successful fundraisers, and some of our poets tonight were part of that. And we are continuing our end of the year fundraising campaign. If you are willing to donate and pledge $75, that's how much it costs for a membership to the space. It gives you free access to events all year. It also gives you free perks for the bookstore, discounts on books, merch, and as well as appreciation events that we have from time to time with our membership constituents. So the last way that you could also support is, of course, by purchasing the books of our authors tonight. We'll have copies of all of their books in the bookstore where you got your ticket. So I'm sure all of our authors will be more than happy to sign them afterwards. So to start off with the readings, we're going to welcome our first poet of the night, and that is Jessica Abughattas. She's the author of the debut poetry collection, Strip, which won the 2020 Ethel Adnan Poetry Prize. Her writing has appeared in Poetry, the Kenyan Review, Poem a Day, and the Adroit Journal, among other places. She is a former poet laureate of Altadena. Let's give a round of applause to Jessica Abughattas.
All right, thank you, Yvonne. I'm so happy to be here in support of Teresa's new book. I'm going to read some new work mixed in with the poems in my book. Failed poems. Failed poems will crawl out of the drain and try to kill you like some 80s horror flick. The picture of us at the Santa Fe rail yard, foreheads glistening. The black widow creeping from the mound of linen still warm from our bodies. Mechanical hum of crickets when you push into me in the middle of the night, when I can't sleep, and the years replay like a foreign movie, a terrible one where the voices sound underwater. Failed poems will steal your breath when you wake parched, hungover, emptied, in a room full of the steady buzz of the refrigerator. When all that excites you is momentary, an earthquake in which all the books shake in place and nothing falls. No one ever reads failed poems, but they follow you home in the dark and tuck in beside you. Failed poems are cute, grim reapers that live in cartoon snowcaps. They're midnight donor kebabs that give you heartburn. Once, in Zurich, we were served rabbit paella at a party celebrating an exhibition of an artist from Venice Beach who used to be homeless but drinks $25 Erewhon smoothies and paints hundreds, maybe thousands of happy faces with his feet. His canvases go for $25,000. Even toe paintings are better, or at least significantly more profitable than failed poems. Failed poems won't help you earn a living. You will probably have to do freelance marketing to sustain the creation of failed poems. Failed poems accrue interest. They seep into dreams where all your friends line up to blow your husband. They cost a monthly cloud subscription to maintain. Failed poems are injected into your father's veins when he ODs for the second time this year. They're shared to infinity when you're canceled for fringe political views. When you're 6 feet under, a failed poem is written on your head. It's a prayer in the form of a failed poem, the last words you hear on earth. I haven't read these next two poems in a while because I wrote them when I was 26, so let's try it out. All my life's been a costume party. The night was like a planet turning on its axis, tides shifting in some seamless, unnoticeable way. So long as I have to go on with this, existing, I might as well be irresistible. So buzzing, I took him like a small cactus fruit into my mouth. I can be this whole tequila bar, or that blonde over there in a cropped t-shirt shooting stardust through the gap in her teeth. There she is, kissing her lady's midnight hair. And there in the crowd, a man is leaning in and saying something no one will remember. Somewhere in the mob, I can hear my will to live, saying very carefully, really, you had a great time, but this party's almost over. 13 ways of looking at an Arab girl. She doesn't read The Atlantic, nor does she orgasm. 2, dancing, sucking her belly toward her spine. Black vines sway to the mumble of a lute, descend the trellis of her, sweep bare feet. 3, Princess Jasmine, Gigi Hadid, Shakira, Sabah. 4, have you seen the brown-necked raven who builds home inside a bomb shelter, the laughing dove who nests in olive trees? 5, I am given the name of an American cheerleader. I am fearfully made. 6, almond eyes and thighs and rug-burned knees. 7, I don't know which I prefer, to be a child in my father's house, a servant in my husband's, or liberated by a fashion magazine. 8, Salma Hayek, George Clooney's wifey, Feiruz, a pole dancing Muslim Miss USA. 9, carrying a basket into a field, disappearing parcel by parcel, she mourns groves of desire. 10, she dies, like an American, in the street or some Mesopotamian desert, at midnight, in the afternoon. 11, the bulbul also sings. 12, someday my name will sound like Oltz, will sound like Plath. Someday, in my father's Spanish inflection, will sound like Abughattas. 13, created by God to fuck, to serve coffee and tea. Cool. I had a lot of big feelings when I was 26. Can't relate. I wrote this poem in my backyard in Altadena in 2021. Eureka. Here in the decomposed granite and desertscape, a frontier town on the horizon for me and the Old West iconography I carry like a tissue or an old receipt. I'm damned by the land I love. I'm the one doing the damning. No friend of oblivion anymore. Every day I wake up and feel deeply flawed. For these I have room in my life. A stand-up comedian, a poet, a painter, a passionate kisser, women sitting in cafes alone, disrupting equilibrium. Here, homes are made of wood and stucco, but back home, they're stone. A big, dark, beautiful eye, an eye that looks like mine. I'm Palestinian, so I love to consolidate the remaining sun. This objectivity avoids metaphor, can only be what it is, my prayer. May all living things be happy one day, but let them take their time. Let them be bad in the in-between and suffer no consequences for it. My prayer, my friend, I hope your lover isn't a sadist, sitting in bars in public, telling strangers you're about to meet your soulmate. No, you're afraid of being free. When I go back to my unhappiness, I'm sure to cook it a meal. My sin, I care about myself without being kind to myself. They wanted me. They wanted me only to idle around idolatry like a girl in a mall, and if it's out there, I'm going to find it, like hair wrapped in a drain. Affairs never approach this grisly reality. Dirt is ugly, but mountains? If you love where you're from, God help you stay there. Here, in the heat, is where I need to be. This world is frightening. I'm trying to enjoy it. Thanks. I think I have time for one more. Do you want a fun one or a serious one? Both? All right, both it is. Serious first. Strip. To remove all contents or possessions from. To empty completely. A sequence of images telling a story. A main road leading in or out of a town. A long, narrow shape, especially of a woman. To tear the thread or teeth from. To dispossess, leave bare, remove all coverings. To press the eggs from, a splayed fish. To gut. To remove bark and branches from, an olive tree. To remove the midrib from, its leaves. To milk, a cow, to the last drop. To barefoot the child, always drawn from behind. To deprive someone of. To take away from, confiscate. To rob, ravage, ransack, raid, reeve, rifle. To fire a bullet from a rifled gun. To rip the sheets from a bed. To lay bare, devastate, sack. To tease, example, prisoners down to their underwear. To denude, delude, to divest. To remove the fittings of or take apart a machine, to inspect it, to adjust it, example, a tank, piece by piece. to dismantle, disassemble, demolish, deny, to take to pieces, take to bits, take apart, break up, to recall Eldoema, Der Yassin, Hula, Tarshiha, Jish, to clear, clean out, loot, pillage, plunder, to often polemically insist on nuance, to paint Guernica upon a camp entrance, to make the body believe lies about itself, to hear over a megaphone in one's native tongue today's judgment day, to sell off for profit, to use for or involve in performance, to $100 bill, to entertain, to scatter like the people of Sheba, to desire no sense of permanence, to undress, suddenly and into the Dead Sea. That seemed like a good natural ending place, but I'll do one more just to leave you on a happy note before we hear from Meghann, or Armandira. The blood move. My heart has grown tired and bored about this party and is thinking a little about late-night Chinese, a cigarette, and calling you to hear the ringing go and go. And although it knows all of this is bad for its health, my heart is tired of role models, wants to let loose for you, but not around this crowd of do-gooders. The heart is not yoga, and especially does not want to hear about Eckhart Tolle again. The heart isn't interested in a TED Talk about vulnerability. The heart is the least vulnerable thing. The heart does what it wants, and it pities how it pities. The heart is the passenger, the driver, has gum, water bottles, and plastic puke bags in case you get sick. Taco Bell, the heart regrets to inform you, has closed. You will have to find some other way to soothe yourself. Squeeze and relax your chamber muscles all you want. I'm in charge, says my daddy Dom heart. And in the event you pick up, the heart is mostly listening. Thank you so much. Congratulations, Teresa.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Next up, we have Armandira Howard. Is a Malaysian queer writer born and raised in Indonesia, now surviving in Los Angeles. She has received support from Kundiman and Story Knife Writers Retreat as a poetry fellow. Her works have appeared in Honey Literary, The Boiler, The Offing, Asian American Writers Workshop, Bruiser Mag, and a few more. So please welcome Armandira Howard.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited here to be celebrating Teresa's book and to read with Meghann as well as Jessica. All three of you, I love your works, obsessed with them, so it's such a treat, especially right before the holidays. The poems I'm going to be reading are a part of a chapbook that will be released hopefully in a month or two called For Animal Use Only. It's going to be out on Bruiser Mag out of Baltimore. And this very first one is called Soft Black Girl Aesthetic. We are made shy sun, kissing another heartless night awake. We are made satin, silken, pompon locks, cotton, banana pudding, baby's breath. These cornbread thighs are blessed butterfly knives. We are made to destem hardened men like bull-headed bougainvillea. Once made the silence between awe and terror. Beauty, beast, beautiful beast, we decide the era. Like desert clay making its own oasis, we do all right. We are made still life. Misted peaches memorialized in American pies. Been made into head flicks of plant witch and cottage maiden peddled to pornographs. We are made to blow on brothers' skinned knees, acid jazz stirring from weathered psalm. Our cries made centuries of hits, sour notes swagged by Tia Fuller's sax. This is our picnic. We are made coal over ice, pouring saccharine shots past the brim. Our pleasures, someone else's whiskey. We are made as protection charms, so good luck, you serpents. No man-made blue can penetrate our skincare routine. We are made to tiptoe the tightrope between blackness and breathlessness, to sway and swing and ski. Violet railroads break the surface of our moons when we are made lovers and mothers. We are made an example. We are made to decorate a burning house. Thanks. This next one is called Without My Enemy, Who Would I Be? It's basically what I tell myself whenever something bad happens to me and I'm ready to get petty. Without my enemy, who would I be? Against the future, your shadow flickers like a silent film, as if with any paling sweetness, press the monochrome under your tongue. There goes the trash, dragging father's black cutout with it. I sling mother's sun-pebbled cloud on dreams like the dress of a delinquent bride. Old age, rainbows over me. To be everybody's everything, you must carve your desires like proper state lines. I desire walking through a second-hand store and getting away with breaking tchotchke. At the farmer's market, a man skimmed my palm, told me it wasn't my first bull ride. This little life of mine echoing like an apology that came too late. O skin, sow and nurture the daggers I turn on myself. Every apocalypse, petrol lace solve. Is Allah both an arsonist and arborist in every reality, or just this one? Because a mirror is another wall you can't go through. Rewind the Super 8 too many times and it will ignite in the projector. Smoke a town down to a whisper. What if, in the sequel, Icarus decides to flutter towards the moon? Thank you. And then this one is called Habitual Creatures. I wrote this after having a dream, apocalyptic dream, and it's about my beautiful fiance over there. All week, the nightmares feasted. Like a sleepwalking butcher, I rose with morning to cure his rind on the roof. When the flood comes again, we'll swig salted tea on a shitty rubber dinghy, teardrops beating along the eyelashes of dusk, gibbous and glutted as all our iridescent lifetimes. Are we not moonlit souvenirs, pixels lifted from another earth we destroyed? What's left but to rewind the hours we sailed under a chameleon canvas in his grandma's aging Ford, bickering and forgiving the way kin do? Are we not two weathered faces of a dime, bracing this rogue-rung song of mine, though only he can mistake the eruptions in my briny deep as a worship horn? Our desperation to be decrypted, deliberate flaw of design. Another matter, mortality is the first poem ever written. Maybe Allah is a poet who can't stop writing elegies, a tortured comedian. How else could we excuse the midnight dwellers haunting the abyss of the ocean's deepest scars, their chiffon sheaths that synthesize sunrise? It's possible we're stranded in an endless genesis, clawing atoms called Adam and Eve, a sieve for pestled grief. All Romes must fall, and we want someone to share the spectacle with. Not that long ago, he told me everyone was a violin. What swan sonata would our bones mule in an embrace? To save him is arrogance. I drag race inside his deja vu all the same. And then I just have two more. This one is called The Year of Avocados. We were together when spring deserted me, buttering bathroom tiles with ruby stillness. That was the year of avocados, honeyed fly traps under potholed husks. What other fruit flesh gets sweeter as it dies? The smell embraced anything. I kept looking between my legs, where you dreamed with abandon, my miraculous mudwater pearl. On Sundays, we laundered dead skin and pajamas, rode each other down golden hour before capsizing. In the kitchen, I cosplayed as Mother Earth, freeing stone hearts from blackening bodies. Everywhere was a smell, a throat closing around us. We were together when they cratered ancestral fields, unrooted family trees, insisted that we call it distance. All while they danced under the gun of Shara, cries lapping the streets like high tide, maybe ragtime in riot times. I held you long in the shower. I wanted to savor breathing. I wanted every moment with you to be a foxhole, our heart-dead universe and its ever-dilating pupil. What of the kids paralyzing under school desks like old gum? I was no longer a child, and yet I snacked on the folklore of a benevolent God, spreading his silky green fat on toasted rye. And what of love, the acrobat on this thinning tightrope? Anything beyond us fogged by the mystifying gravity of her arms. We were together, a country dressed in black flags, civil war peeking through the horizon. And those were all the poems that are going to be on the chapbook, but this is a newer poem, so I'm gonna test it out. I wrote this while I was on a retreat in Alaska, and so it's very inspired by that. Mother's Spit. I pocket 3 rocks from the spit of a glacier. I need this beach to know I've been here. 3 chipped bits of mountain teeth, slants of gray. Today should be your birthday, but there's no proof you were ever inside me. What's here with me? Gritty shore, stranded sea nettles like smelted and gummy suns. 2 mothers I barely know keen on saving me from a bear. A trio of happy accidents. The trail our boots sink through is a slick band hemmed with cottonwood and sitka. In Alaska, summer is giving up. Branches release their offspring in slow motion to certain death. Here, dead things take after an East Coast sunrise, a West Coast sunset. We pass miniature mushroom villages, nestling in moss, dewed parasols. There is still a monsoon I'm scared to pass down. To scare the bear, we throw voices like seeds. One woman's daughter is having identical twins, so we forage for names. Talk as writers talk, metaphors mined, mythologies assigned. I know the name you would have grown into. I see you in everything. The infant spruce whose crown comes up to my kneecap. The strange, feathery white trumpets that could have been your wedding dress. Close to the grand finale, a panel reports how a landslide sent an icy wave hundreds of feet in the air, combing the valley of anything living, before it became one with the Kachemak. These events are geologic curiosities until people are nearby. Then they become potential tragedies. Like any poet, I think of the serendipity of dying on your birthday. The thicket thins, opens into the glacial basin, a vastness our eyes can't colonize. To me, its milk face doesn't really look like a face, more of a keyhole between the parted thighs of Kenai. Shards of the ice age so freezing it's lost its hue. I burn, trying to see if there's a bottom to this, standing too close to the edge of the pebbled shore, a splinter that follows a belly-deep groan. Chunks of ancient body explode into its melt, floating away like lonely clots. The shuddering lake muddles the reflection of all that's above us. I think once beauty enters you, it can never leave. And today it feels like my birthday too. Thank you. And I think Megan's next.
Thank you, Romantria, and congrats on the upcoming chapbook. Our next poet is Meghann Plunkett. She's a screenwriter and poet. Once an East Coaster working at The New Yorker, she now finds herself based in Los Angeles. Her credits include Station 19 and Rebel. She is currently adapting the novel First Light Winds for television alongside Krista Vernoff and Octavia Spencer. Her poetry and prose can be found in various journals and in her new book, What We Did to Her Made the Water Rise. Please welcome Meghann Plunkett.
Thank you. Thank you so much for hosting us. I really love this space, and I think it's so important for us to gather in this dark timeline that we're all trapped in around poetry. So thanks for showing up. This is my chapbook. It's a little collection of poems kind of based on where I grew up in Rhode Island along the Atlantic, and I kind of grew up along this peninsula of land called Matunic, Rhode Island. And it's a meditation, kind of watching the shoreline erode and also watching women in my family also erode based on the pressures of society and also the violence of girlhood. It's really uplifting to hang on. My mother tells me about her assault, and another storm moves up the cold side of our home. The wind wails like a newborn, but she sleeps through the night. I cradle each bag of sand into the burlap darkness, stack them over the cellar door. The dishes are lifted down to the floor. Everything breakable must be taken out into the open. The water rising over the seawall like a hand over a mouth. What barrels down our coastline wants us, dead. I hammer the windows closed and wait for it to surge under the front door. The dog bowl floating toward my mother's bed. My ankles drown in what can't be kept out. This one is has a lot of childhood, early aughts references, so you're welcome. Wild and Dangerous. It was the year Jean Bonnet was everywhere and I grew 2 small breasts. In the grocery line, her face on every magazine cover, a pageant gown and a crown of baby's breath on her head, as I bought bubble gum and learned to pop it loud. She was on all our tongues the way all girls' deaths seem to be. My mother shaking her head, what a shame, tisking at the scars on my leg, rubbing them with her thumb like a dent on an expensive car. Whenever the neighbor boys chased Amy and I, we'd slip through the hole in the boatyard fence to avoid them, the smell of rotting wood damp in our hair. We practiced kissing under the broken rowboats. We sang Mariah Carey's Fantasy in a weak falsetto, Amy showing me the pad between her legs and the crease of line of blood, and I lied about mine that had never come. The photo of girls who went missing hung in the community center, all in a line, listing the ages they'd be now, 9, 12, 18, 34, braces, smiling, gone. My mother, dressing to go out on the town, wiggled into a girdle, winking at me, wincing her blistered foot into a high-heeled shoe. She'd hold the shoe to my face, pointing at the 4 inches. You can use a stiletto to drive into a man's eye if you need to. Lipstick on her teeth like she'd eaten a heart. And no one knew who killed her. The parents, the brother, a faceless man entering through the window. She looked like a little doll I got for Christmas, never taken out of the box. Cooing at her curls, my mother folded the magazine so I could see, asking if I wanted my hair to be just like hers. The day the boys found us, we were in the boatyard. Their fists clenched as we retreated, trapped by the fence and the shoreline, cornered. I picked up a rusted blade used to saw barnacles off the bottom of boats. I didn't know much, but I knew how to growl, my mouth foaming, mad as a feral cat. I knew how to say, "I'll cut your throats," my bony limbs waving and wild and dangerous. "Geez, it's just a game," they said, shaking their heads, leaving me there. Amy, too, never looking at me the same way again. Just do this one. I usually start off with this poem because it, in a book about women, this is the first woman. Eve. Eve was the first dissatisfied woman. Pulled out of the side of a man she had no choice in loving, she was the first thing to be born out of blood, a C-section. She was the reason for the very first scar. And she'd feel it, the place where the skin broke along his rib cage. Every night Adam pushed between her legs, Eve would look up at the stars and run her hand along 6 inches of scar thick on his torso. She hated to watch him bathe in the river. the way that scar would bend and stretch whenever he leaned down or turned to look around. It kept her from sleeping, knowing it was there on his side, just breathing. It isn't easy being so close to the wound that you came from, which is why we have so much trouble looking into the eyes of our mothers. And it wasn't an accident, the apple. Women know. We know what we're doing when we bite down. I wish I had one to end on. I have two more. I wish I had one to end on a fun note, but I don't. But this one's about period sex, so. And reading them back to back, it seems like I write about periods a lot, and maybe I do. Maybe I was going to be like, no, I don't, but I guess I do. Nightshade for Amy. She called me the morning after, hair brambled into a nest, her eyes an upshot of so what to tell me that after bottles clinked out of his father's liquor cabinet, they fucked in every room. And she broke open, forgetting to count the days of her cycle, her hips a burst of red snarl all over the house, the sofa, the kitchen, his parents' bedroom, a trophy of defiance they grinned through as she puddled, unaware of the blood anchoring out of her. And when the sun rose, he called her bitch for the stains on his mother's linens, teardrop shapes sloping from where she was bent over an armchair, thick fingerprints purpling on the counter. She called me and I appeared there in this instance of mourning, arms heavy with jugs of cleaning agent. She held me to the deepest mark of her, a nightshade, a bodiless heart imprinted on an eggshell duvet. And there was something ancient in the way we took a knee and began to scrub, grinning into each other, dipping rags into cups of bleach. Why wouldn't this be as natural as saying our own names? As if we weren't familiar with this kind of slow removal, as if we didn't already know how to clean ourselves out of the world. This is my last one. It's a new one, and it just got picked up, so I feel like I can read it out loud. Not to brag, but I am a sick kid, so this is a poem about that. Autoimmune. They call it the great imitator, and in that way we know each other. You think I can't fill the gaps of someone's personality. You think I won't mirror, repeat, rinse and reset my traits to blend into a life unnoticed? Please. I wake up with my own teeth marks on my ankles. I wake up with a full moon in my skull, sitting on the edge of my bed, waiting for the medication to work. Cells attacking cells, my immune system forgetting what is foreign. At the clinic, the doctor squints at my blood work, a magic eye kaleidoscoping. There are gaps and spikes of too much and too little. He taps the hollow of my back, ringing my kidneys like a tuning fork. Look at this animal skulking in and out of my corners, gnawing on the marrow of my own bone. I am my own delicacy, course after course, a parasite thumbing up the last crumb. But look at the ways I resist being worn down to dust. The invisible howling of vertigo stretching my days into a milky fog, stretching my mind back to the hibernating den, nose to tail, a whole pack of them set loose inside me, yipping, gnashing, something holy and wholly unnatural. Some days they starve. Some days I stoke the flames. I tie myself to the spit. I am turning and turning tender, a willing meal. Eat. That's what I'm good for. Thank you. I also wanted to say I'm so excited to hear Teresa's work. She's so special. I met her in grad school, and her story and her book and her whole essence is a joy, so I'm excited.
I mean, not to insert myself, just Just so that there's no hard feelings after and I get blamed for, not introducing you. But Teresa Dzieglewicz, so excited to be here. And she's a poet, educator, and lover of rivers and prairies. She's a fellow with Black Earth Institute, a poet in residence at the Chicago Poetry Center, and part of the founding team of Mni Wichoni Nakicizin Wounspe, which is Defenders of the Water School. She organizes Watershed, Ways of Knowing the Chicago River, with Natasha Mijares. Her first children's book, Belonging, co-written with Kimimila Locke, is forthcoming from Chronicle Books. She has won a Pushcart Prize, Best New Poets, the Gingko Prize, the Auburn Witness Prize, and the Poetry Prize, and has received fellowships from the Elizabeth George Foundation, community writers at Tahoe, Brooklyn Poets, and more. Teresa lives with her family in Chicago on Potawatomi land. Please welcome Teresa Dzieglewicz.
The story starts like this, with scraps of shell, and the river just beginning to chisel her bed across the not yet prairie, to score through prehistoric fangs of cats, sea glass smooth ribs of swept away mammals. No nation dams her yet, floods the homes along her banks, corners her in puny lakes. No, now she sows and sows. The once hinged hull of a mussel, a limpet emptied of its triangular heart. And new mineral starts to cling, spends centuries swelling, globe-like and resistant around this swallowed archive. Now, weathering, polishing away shale banks, revealing the shapes up to 10 feet in diameter. In Lakota, this place is called the Iya Wakagapi Wakpa, or Sacred Stone River. But when the soldiers came, saw the sunlit stones, warm and breathy as eggs, they rechristened her the Cannonball. Because when destiny means only more and more, when all your tools are weapons, even a river starts to look like a war. It is so beautiful to be here with you all tonight and get to read with, oh my gosh, 3 genius poets. I feel so lucky and honored and to be in this beautiful space. Thank you. So my book, Something Small of How to See a River, is, do folks kind of know about what happened in 2016 at Standing Rock, the water protector movement? Okay, all right, so it was this giant Lakota-led, indigenous-led movement to stop the Dakota Access Pipeline from going under the Missouri River. There was a giant camp, 10,000 people at its max. I was very honored to be a guest there. My friend Elena Eagleshield invited me to help her run a school for the kids who were living at the camp, and so I lived there for 5 months doing that. I want to acknowledge before I read any more poems that I am white, and I never want to be the only poet that anyone reads about what happened at Standing Rock. There is a really, really, really beautiful feature in Orion magazine called The Women of Standing Rock that has poems and photographs by Indigenous women about the Standing Rock movement. There's an incredible Lakota poet named Mark Tilson who published a book about the movement, and Layli Long Soldier also has some poems about it as well. I also, in this book, the chapters begin, or the sections, it's a poetry book, begin with quotes from the kids who were at the school. And so I want to read one of those from my former student and now dear friend, Frankie Archambault. who will appear a lot of times in this book. No matter how scary things got, every morning we would pray for the river. Someone would light the sage, and I'd think about all the things I'm thankful for, like how we're by the river and we have clean water and we had breakfast and the sun is coming up. I'd start praying for the water and the people who were sick or were troubled at that time. We'd always put our hands in the river. It was so cool, and I could feel it between my fingers as it was flowing down the stream. I'd feel more with myself, more like myself. This poem is called A Lesson in Word Choice. So one of the things we would sometimes do at the school is look at what was being published in various newspapers and media outlets about this school, about the movement. There was the kind of first major instance of state violence was a day that everyone had thought that there was a suspension of construction, and construction started again, big bulldozers ripping apart the land, and people came out to try and stop them, and private security forces released dogs on them, released dogs on us. And when we looked at the newspaper article that came out in the Bismarck Tribune shortly afterwards, the headline was, "Protesters injure dogs at construction site." So yeah, I'm just gonna say that again, right? Protesters injure dogs at construction site. So you're gonna hear that title kind of woven in through this poem, and so the kids and I talked about that, right? What does that mean to have that be how, the newspaper is writing about it? A lesson in word choice. Our army tent turned school rattles with exhaust from the helicopters, shakes with shards of speeches from the sacred fire. Dog bite, breast, bulldozer, burial sites. The big kids and I brace our heads on our fists, circle like petals on the dirt damp rug, the Bismarck Tribune, the pistol in the middle. Jaden begins the headline. Protesters. They call us protesters, he says, to make it sound like we want to fight, but we're protectors. We protect the water for everyone. Yesterday started as a prayer walk. Banners, regalia, cedar, children, chatting, chanting, pouring luminous as a river into the container of the highway's edge. Until somebody got a call. Bulldozers carving the pipeline path like something opposite a birth through the fields west of Highway 1806. The words voluntary suspension of construction broken on sacred spaces the tribe had filed yesterday to protect. Injure. We arrived to land like a pale welt, raw and exposed, prairie crocus, deep-rooted echinacea, and the burial places, churned, unrecognizable. Behind barbed wire, the growl of bulldozers' glossy German shepherd tongues. Dogs. Frankie says, they don't even say the dogs were biting people. It's like we attacked them first. In the chaos of rising fists, horses painted with hands, ticking helicopter blades, canine noses wet with blood. It was the women grasping one another who lay down where the mouth of the dozer was meant to swallow next, planted their bodies until the machine retreated. I watched like a scarecrow strung outside the fence by my own indecision as their ribbon skirts recolored the land. Tashubi kicks a box, sloppy with summer tank tops, half-used grammar books donated from white people's basements. At construction site. It's not just a place to dig up, it's our land. Our ancestors are buried here. The treaties say it's ours. I hear the little kids ask Jose about tear gas again, their arms waving in purple with glitter, if the cops will spray kids too. And I know some things I didn't know last week. How I should have poured milk on the welted face of the blue-haired woman on the side of the road. How I can waver like a building glimpsed through heat when it's my turn to put my body on the line, and how that is a violence too. Through the speaker, we hear a fragment of an elder's speech, a reminder that every choice we make is a ceremony. Our faces are green in the tense military issue glow, and a few miles away in St. Anthony, red and blue lights of police barb a fence around each school bus, escort white children back to white homes, and when the state says protect, we all know who they mean. All right, so I had this really crappy car at camp. It was this like matte gray Pontiac vibe. Some of you may have ridden in it, perhaps even. And it was just like losing its entrails around the camp, right? Like its like muffler was held on. Somebody tied it on with like an old iPhone charger for me. Like it was like really falling to pieces. But the kids loved this car, right? And every once in a while, I had to go drive away from the camp and go to the casino, which is the only place I could get internet. And I was, there to do boring things, be like, please send donations. But they were like, you are going to a place, this land where I know there is like grilled cheese and French fries, and you are not taking me. So they were never happy about it, right? And so this is a poem about them taking this into their own hands. There are no police in this poem. Only the kids balancing in their snow boots, the log beneath them, rainbowed in resistance slogans. Slush gray light interrupted by the bright flags of their arms. They waved down our car. Teachers, teachers! We unclick the loose tooth of each manual lock, and the dinged up doors, full weight of the kids on their handles, fly open like the arms of startled infants. There are no police in this poem. Only Shawnee Ray, my foot as her springboard, vaulting to the council, asterisking my borrowed skirt with the juice of her gas station pickle. Only Shelby's hands, winging my books from the back seat, and Shailena, who can't be bothered, wedging her knees into the narrow volumes of poetry, slick picture book covers. I'm saying there are no police in this car, where Frankie lunges over everybody, her arms in long black cape of a coat wrapped around baby Dylan, Marshmallow Man in his snowsuit, fingers sour patch sticky. Somehow, suddenly, my hands, my feet are off the wheel, the pedals. I am ankle deep in the snow. All the teachers are shivering spectators of this wild joy. And I can see it doesn't belong to me, but I can love it anyhow. There are no police anywhere. As Emma's elbow pokes the horn, beep, 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 jostling through the snow muffle of prairie as Raina and Nyla and RJ co-sardine the driver's seat getaway curls smushed on the felt of the ceiling. There are no seats left in the car. So Michael and Leighton scramble the windshield, sprawl on the roof. There are only the kids shouting the ecstatic tally of themselves. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 14 as they take this frame that looked so inflexible and there make space for each of their bodies. Thank you. to read one more poem. It's a long one, so settle in. When in December at the camp, I came home meaning to just come home for a visit, and ended up having to have emergency back surgery, and was not able to return, and therefore when the camp was eventually torn down by the state, I was at home, which at that point was St. Louis. And I made a lot of bread during that time period. I think some loaves for Meghann probably as well. Thank you again so much to all of you. Baking bread as Ocheti Shakoi is rated. The camp was called Ocheti Shakoi. 1, nobody stands at North Gate anymore. When bulldozers lumber the slope, score the dirt with their teeth, scatter men who slash teepees in the wet earth where we once lived. Winona's kitchen, the tent where the kids donned rubber gloves, ladled soup into hundreds of bowls, crumples like a foal in the snow. The sheriff calls this victory. I am very happy to say that we finally introduced the rule of law in the Ocheti camp. And I am not there. I don't want to tell you this, but I am leaning against my stove in St. Louis, clutching a recipe's flimsy page written in black and white as the blurry window of my computer streams Ocheti in from the edge of my counter. I am just a woman whose back will not support her in a city that hides its water behind high voltage lines and highway, starburst windows of forgotten factories. The bulldozers power toward the Cannonball River I slept beside, churn the earth and roots of each plant as central heat pumps like an old heart through my house. 2, I used to trust in the words that were placed on my tongue. I called the river Missouri, but learned no language for the dams redirecting the water, holding back the stories of the silt and the clay. I never learned of the children who were taken from its side. I never learned why I was taught to sing, "This land is my land." 3, the county commissioner says he's proud the camp was cleared without any major injuries. And I remove a glass measuring cup from my shelf. Travis's plywood home, where he practiced the songs he would sing with the kids, the home he built with his hands, spray painted, "We are unarmed," erupts into flames. I unfold the origami of the flower's silent mouth. The bulldozers turn and shred hay bales that kept our teepees warm in the wind. Yank the foundation from Tonia's wigwam where Shaylina and Shawnee last hugged me goodbye. The bag coughs flour like dandelion seed, and I cannot come clean of it, coating my fingers white, wedged white between the threads of my sweater, burrowed white in the split wood of my counter. On the screen, assault rifles push the last few people to the river. 4, some days I lean against my sink, feel the grinding in my spine, and I am ashamed to say that some small piece of me wishes I could close this window, simply follow the directions that have been written so clearly before me. Let my world be the chipped white of my cabinets, the shift of the pots and pans above my head. Forget I ever lived beside a river. But the Missouri and the Mississippi become one and reach me even here, each time I turn on my tap. when the edges of the cannonball overflow, touch the places along the riverbank where we sought sticks for drums and studied the plants and sat in circles and sang, "The water runs here." Every day I brush my teeth with Ochetti. Every day I wash my clothes with Ochetti. Every day it is Ochetti that fills my glass. 5. On the feed, the soldiers are chasing Eric, who made tea for our coughs, dipping into jars of marshmallow root and ginger and osha. Once he measured herbs with the kids. As I measure my water to the line, stir until strands of gluten begin to form. The camera bucks, and I see only a river of sky, and Eric is screaming. 6. The governor says he is glad the efforts have gone so smoothly, and one by one each feed blinks out. 7. What we built is now just mud and sleet, ash and firewood broken by bulldozer chains. Still, I see the sacred fire in the summer. Frankie braiding my hair in the food line, Wolf and Junior grass dancing in the firelight. I don't know when the pipeline will run beneath the river, when the water will brush its strange plastic tubes before it reaches our lips. I don't know if this bread will ever rise, or when or where the first oil will leak. But I am learning something small of how to see a river. To see the drowning hidden beneath the water, and see also the kids on the bank, covered in temporary tattoos, hair spiked from days of swimming. They are praying for the construction workers. Help them understand their kids drink water too. Tobacco sprinkles from their fingers is taken in the breath of the current. Thank you.
Yeah, let's keep it going for all our poets this evening. Round of applause. Thank you. Thank you so much to our poets, and of course to you all for coming and supporting them. We have a reception right outside in the lobby, and books for sale in the bookstore, so stick around and let's mingle a little bit. Thank you all.